And joining me now to discuss this is the Conservatives' Deputy Chair, Rachel McLean. Rachel, welcome to the show. Always a pleasure. So, you recently wrote that you thought bad nerves are the new bad back, and we are now seeing an astonishing 2.8 million people on long-term sick. That's an increase of 200,000 this year alone. Two-thirds of them are claims for mental health. Rachel, help me make sense of this.
Yes, Martin, thanks for having me on. It is a subject that I'm very worried about. I made a speech in Parliament last week, obviously welcoming a lot of the work the government is doing. There's a huge amount of work going into getting people back in to work, because obviously I believe, and the government does too, that the best thing for people with mental health problems usually is for them to be in work. That's actually the best therapy, provided they're supported, etc., and it's done in the right way. That's the best therapy for people, and that is what a good workplace should look like, and that's what a good benefit system should look like. But I think there are some problems that need addressing. One of the things that really jumped out at me when I started looking at this was this phrase, bad nerves. I mean, I've got 2 psychology degrees. I do understand a lot about mental health and mental ill health. Bad nerves is not a clinical condition. I mean, Martin, frankly, I'm having bad nerves, you know, when I go on live TV. That's something that would give me bad nerves. I mean, I'm sure most people watching this will have bad nerves if they're going for an interview or even just running around trying to meet an appointment or get to work. And what even is bad nerves? It's just a meaningless phrase. We shouldn't be using this sort of cod psychology. We should be using proper language. And if we are going to be able to target health people, which we should do, we need to understand what their conditions are. So anxiety, depression, of course, these are conditions that are understood, and we have treatment and therapy for them. But let's get the treatment right. Let's make sure it's focused on the right things.
And Rachel, in terms of the financial implication of this report says the benefits bill is set to soar by tens of billions of pounds under the next government, and this is simply unaffordable. If you already look at where the majority of the tax rake, the tax take goes, it's the NHS, and then its benefits. It's going to bankrupt the country, so surely, if we have so many people on benefits.
Well, clearly it needs to be turned around, and there is a plan. And a lot of the things that are going on are good. I mean, the job centre there is a great example. What you'll find there is programmes to support people back into work, whatever the condition is. But I think there is a sort of general concern that some of us have, in that we are over-medicalising some things that are just part of life. I mean, the human condition is full of pain and suffering and difficult things, and a lot of these do lead to mental health conditions. But part of being alive and being human is dealing with sadness and depression and very difficult situations that people find themselves in. I mean, ultimately, we cannot expect to be happy every minute of every day, and you know, that's just not the reality of life. And people used to turn to the church and to spiritual solace to help them deal with that. Unfortunately, that doesn't happen anymore, and a lot of people don't have that. So therefore, they're looking for the government to fix this thing. It can't be fixed. Being alive and the human condition is not something that can be fixed by government benefits. So okay, I think that's a slightly broader point. But I think in terms of, yes, is it a high cost to the country? Yes, it is. And if people are working very hard, that group of people are working and paying their taxes into the system.
Okay, so Rachel, I need to ask you a tough question, and please try and answer as honestly as you can. Do you think a lot of people are gaming the system here? We talk about a bad back. In the past, that was a byword for we can't really prove it. I can say what I want. I can get signed off on the never, never. Is that happening in this case? Do you think a lot of people are saying, well, mental health, that's the thing to have now to get benefits, and you can't prove otherwise?
So I want to be careful how I talk about mental health, Martin, and you'll understand why. Because, of course, I really am very sympathetic when people have genuine mental health difficulties. But it's like a lot of these things, isn't it? It's something that is very hard to prove or disprove, because it is something that's individual and personal to that individual. So look, I'm definitely not making a blanket comment that everybody, and it'd be very, very wrong for anybody watching this to take this from my comments that everybody is not being genuine. But I think actually I have more problems with the system itself, because if you design a system with a word like bad nerves in, then who would blame anyone for responding to the incentive? You've got to get the system right in the first place, and then target the help and make sure that people are able to avail themselves of that help. But, you know, and I think in general, we've had a situation where people have been encouraged to talk about their mental health, and that is good up to a point. But I would also like to see that going along with a recognition that actually life is full of pain and fear. You know, as many of our playwrights and great works of art and literature remind us, life is hard and bleak, and therefore that doesn't necessarily mean you've got a mental health condition.
Okay, we're going to have to leave it there. Thanks for your time and your input. Always a pleasure. Conservatives Deputy Chair Rachel McLean, thanks for joining us on the show.